Hello everybody, Jake here from Bearded Gear. Today I wanted to show you my favorite firearm. I own a couple of guns, not a ton. I'm not I don't have nearly as big a collection of guns as I do knives, but part of that is because I live in California, and so good guns are not as plentiful here. We have far more restrictions on what we can and can't own, and that's a story for another time. But this has been my favorite firearm that I have ever owned for quite a while. So I've owned this gun for about a year and a half, and I have been nothing but pleased with it. I want to say I've got about 2,500 to 3,000 rounds through it. That's not an insane amount, but it's not nothing either. This gun's definitely broken in, and I have loved using it. It's super fun range gun. It's a great carry gun, although it's a little big and a little heavy for concealed carry. But this is a full-size kind of service-focused pistol. If you want to look at the specs and the takedown and all the kind of nerdy stuff about the 226, this isn't going to be the video for you. This is just me expressing why I like this firearm and what sticks out about it to me, kind of my review of it. So first things first, the Scorpion version comes as an enhanced elite Sig P226. So you can see here on the slide, it does say 226 Elite. We'll do a quick safety check just to make sure this gun is indeed unloaded. That's an empty mag. We've got an empty chamber, and we are ready to rock. Pardon me as I go through this video. You'll find I am left-handed with a firearm, so if it looks a little bit backwards to you, the way I'm manipulating this, that is why. But you can rest assured if you're a lefty that coming from a lefty, this gun is an absolute fantastic gun to run left-handed. So my favorite things about this firearm, the way it comes right out of the box, happen to be because it's an elite version of the Sig. So because it's an elite, you do have these forward slide serrations, which I love. I do find that I really like to manipulate the slide from the front. It works for me in that manner. And it also gets the elite trigger. So you can see with the hammer back, this is a double action firearm. So hammer back in the single action firing mode, there is hardly any take up, and it's not mushy. It's nice and soft all the way to the wall. The wall is very defined and very crisp, and then it is nice and light. Now, to add to that, the reset is defined as well, and it is nice and short and crisp. It's right there already. So this gun is fantastic for running quickly on the range, on an outdoor range, shooting steel, all kinds of stuff. This is a fantastic competition gun, in my opinion. It's just a great trigger setup out of the box, and I love that about it. I've owned several Glocks. I've shot a ton of different firearms throughout my lifetime. This, for me, is my favorite trigger setup from factory. I really, really like this trigger. This one also has the Hogue G-mascus grips and G10. It's kind of a layered G10 in different colors, which is why they call it that G-mascus. You can see it's just a fantastic grip setup. This stippling, if you want to call it that, from these grips, or on these grips from factory, is just the right amount of grippy. It's really coarse, really rough, but when it's in hand, it's not too aggressive. It's not ripping up my hands. I really, really like this this grip setup. It works fantastic for me. You can see I do also have a decocker, which is a fantastic feature on a double action, single action firearm like this. What that means to me is that I don't worry at all about running this with one in the chamber, because that double action pull is pretty heavy and it's pretty long. And frankly, I run my Glock with one in the chamber. So this is much safer in many ways. Anywho, the only thing that I have added to this firearm is, as you can see, this Inforce APL light. I deliberated between a couple of different lights for a while. I wasn't sure whether I wanted to get the Stream light or the Surefire or an O light, but ultimately I came down to this one because I live in a relatively small apartment. Overall, like, lumen count wasn't what was most important to me, but I wanted something that was going to give me a good projection, the type of beam that I wanted, and B was gonna ultimately, for vain reasons, just match the gun the best. And I think this finish matches about as perfectly as you could possibly ask for an aftermarket light. It looks like it was made for this gun, in my opinion. But I want to say this light runs about 400 lumens. It takes one CR123A battery, which I always keep a bunch of anyways, and it's super easy to swap the batteries in and out of it. Super easy to install and uninstall the light itself. And yeah, everything about this light has just been fantastic for me. Let me show you how easy that is. Yeah, literally runs on one. You chuck it in there, thread that in. And then this light has a couple of modes. Really just two modes, frankly. So if you hold the light down, you get a beam, and when you release, the beam goes away. So hold and release, or you can give it a quick click and the light will remain illuminated. Then you click it again to turn it off. For me, it's super easy to manipulate this light with my trigger finger, or as I'm over here with my offhand, I can get it with my thumb, and it just works great. This SIG is running the factory night sights, and I really like these sights. The only thing I would change about these sights is that I would have an RMR on top of it if I could afford one and pay to have the slide machined and all that fun stuff. But for irons, I think these are just top notch for factory sights. I really like them. In fact, they're probably nicer than the aftermarket, I think, True Glow sights that I've put onto my Glock 23. So yeah, I really like the sights. Love the serrations on the slide, both front and back. They're fantastic for manipulating. These are metal sights, so if you want to use those even for manipulation, you totally can, which is great in a pinch if you've got your offhand down for some reason. These grips are just phenomenal. The controls on this firearm, being a left-handed person, for me, work really well. I don't have any complaints about manipulating this firearm with my left hand. I am somewhat ambidextrous, so if I need to fire the firearm right-handed, I try to stay competent and proficient in that way. But yeah, this gun is, for not being set up to be ambi, it's a right-handed firearm that works excellent for left-handed people, in my opinion. Let's see, the only other things that I've added to this firearm would be magazines. In California, when I bought this firearm, it was limited to these 10-round magazines. And a few months ago, I guess it's longer than that, 6 months, maybe a year ago, we had Magpocalypse here in Southern California. There was a sweet little window of time where we were allowed to buy full capacity magazines, and it was totally legal. During that time period, I got a couple of things. I had the opportunity to get some 18-round flush fit mags, which are what the gun typically comes with. So you can see that sits nice and flush. It's fantastic. 18 rounds. If you're running +1 in the chamber, you got 19. And then I was also able to get some of these Mec-Gar. They're 18-rounders with the +2 extensions on them. So this is a 20-round magazine. Sticks out a little bit with that extension, as you can see. And then you can obviously run one in the chamber as well. So the difference between being a 10+1 in this size and being able to get the actual amount in the firearm that you're supposed to, it's worlds of difference. So I love running these +2s on here. This is kind of my designated bedside gun. So at all times, I keep 20+1, and it's just a fantastic setup with some good hollow points in it, this light on it, and 21 rounds ready to rock, an extra mag next to it. I think that's a fantastic bedside setup for me in the home that I live in. But yeah, so one thing I should mention as well, the mag release on this gun is just awesome. The way that it gives you a little bit of a spit, and the mag will free drop right out. These are just awesome to manipulate. I love loading and reloading this gun. It works so much better than any other handgun that I've ever owned, at least. I've shot some like competition 1911s or 2011s that are definitely a little bit better for running on a competition course or something like that. But for an out-of-the-box factory firearm, this is probably the best that I've ever experienced for loading, reloading, all that kind of stuff. Anywho, I guess that's about it for this gun. But what I would say most of all is just that this gun, if I had to pick one handgun to own forever, it would probably just be this one. There are definitely more expensive guns I could own. There are definitely far less expensive guns I could own. For me, the size of this gun, the way it functions, the way that it's set up, just works so well for me. This gun also has a fantastic track record. It's been nothing but reliable, not only for me, but it has excellent reputation for being reliable. It's been used in military and law enforcement applications. This gun has seen some stuff. Maybe not this particular one that I'm holding here. This one's just been to the range a bunch of times, and other than that, sits next to my bed. But it's just a proven firearm at this point. And growing up, I shot a ton of 1911s, a ton of Glocks, and a lot of kind of odds and ends, just a bunch of random stuff as well. I was super into shooting sports growing up, and have spent a ton of time firing a lot of different guns. And this, for me, is just the one that I love. It's just a great gun. So yeah, if you're looking at the Sig P226, especially this Scorpion version with the enhanced elite trigger, the extended beaver tail, the front slide serrations, the G-mascus grips from Hogue, the FDE setup, it's just, this is the one in my opinion. But even if you're just looking at any other P226, it's a fantastic, fantastic firearm. And yeah, I can definitely add my voice to the masses who have said that they love it as well, and kind of put my bearded gear stamp of approval on it, if you will. This is my favorite firearm for sure. But I hope you've enjoyed checking it out with me. If you have any questions, feel free to drop in on the comments, and I'll try to get back to you on it. But yeah, this is the P226 Scorpion.